I'll just start by asking, did the Celtics win that or did the Pacers lose it?
I think it was, to me, it's more of a Pacers loss than a Celtics win. It's tough for me because they closed that, and Brown hitting that three, that's something I question whether or not they could do. Like, this has been my biggest question. Like, they're the most talented team in the league, and, all the records they've set, like, they deserve them. But I still think that the only people who are going to get in the way of the Celtics this year isn't another team. It's themselves. So for them to close the way that they did, or at least to force overtime, and then the way Tatum played in overtime, I was like, wow, holy crap, they did something I didn't think that they could do. But, the Pacers did puke all over themselves in that final 30 seconds. And the Celtics also consistently choked up leads throughout the game when they had the opportunity to completely bury the Pacers. Now, I have a lot going on. I apologize. I haven't really been listening the last couple of days. I don't know if you brought any of this stuff up, but it obviously took Rick Carlisle freezing in the biggest moment of the game for the Celtics and Jaylen Brown to get that final possession down 3, and they closed on that. Great. But to my point of their opportunity to bury the Pacers and pull away, 2:45 remaining in the first quarter. Celtics up 9, 29-20. They get a 3-point lead at the end of the quarter. It's 34-31. It's like, what the hell's happening here? 4:45 remaining in the second quarter. They lead by 8, 55-47. Pull away. Close this game out. Start to pull away. The Pacers aren't as talented you. Halftime, the score 64-64. And it was at that moment specifically, I don't know how you guys felt watching it, I was like, this thing's going to go down to the wire. They're going to run the Celtics ragged. Guys like Al Horford are going to get gassed. 3:23 remaining in the third. They're up 13. 92-79. End of the quarter. They're down 1, 94-93. 5-point lead. 9 minutes remaining in the fourth. They trail by 5, 1:40 remaining. With 10 seconds remaining in the game, they trail 3. Pacers had the ball, and the Pacers puke all over themselves. So I think two things can be true. It's great that they closed in a way that I didn't think that they could because I questioned their heart, balls, all of that in tight moments like that in games of this magnitude. They did that. Great. They answered that bell. But the Pacers also puked all over themselves, and they ran the Celtics ragged. So I think two things can be true there. And I also think this is going to continue. This series isn't going to be – I still like the Celtics. I still think they're going to win, but I don't think it's going to be 5. Going into it, I was like, this is just going to be kind of another cakewalk. I don't think that it is. It might go 6. The Celtics are still going to win it, but they're going to get run ragged in this series.
Do you feel better or worse about the team after the game? And I'm not talking about this series. I'm talking about generically going forward, winning a championship. How do you feel about the team?
Better, because again, the way that Brown's 3 in an overtime, I didn't think they had that in them. I needed to see something like that, even though I don't think highly of the Pacers, because again, the East has been kind of a cakewalk, but still, magnitude of the game, that was the Pacers. That was a Pacers win. You just did your stolen tears, Mazz. The Celtics stole that game. I needed to see something like that during this run. It certainly wasn't going to happen with the stupid Heat and the useless Cavaliers, but for Game 1, Eastern Conference Finals, for them to close, I feel better about them. I really do.
Okay, it's not the first time they've done that, and I don't mean this year. I mean within this era, if you will. I mean, Game 6 last year in Miami's on Mazz's tears. It's one of the great thefts, and they pulled one out late last year in that game. Did it change who they were or what they were ultimately going to be in the biggest moment? It didn't. What was the other example we were using yesterday, Mazz? Over it again.
Game 6 in against Philly last year too, maybe.
No, they didn't really pull that. No.
Well, it was a bad game for Tatum, but he turned it on. But go ahead.
There was another game we were using yesterday as an example that didn't lead to anything. It'll come to me.
Was it Milwaukee?
No. It'll come to me. Anyway, they won a game like that last year, Murray. And, what did it ultimately mean?
No, nothing. And that was, if we could go back and if I could go back, I'm sure I didn't like the Celtics going into Game 7 at home against Miami because Miami still looked at them as like a bunch of bitches, like that up until this year. And that's rightfully so. They owned them. They owned their souls. They had that mental thing over them. And so even though they stole that Game 6 last year, I didn't like the Celtics' chances in Game 7, and I was right about that. This time it just feels different. And to me, one of the things that's I would argue the addition of Drew Holiday, this is what, you saw the other night, is I think what they got him for. That's that championship pedigree. He's been there. He's done that. I think he's been a game like that shows me he's a change in their DNA. And I know it's only for one night, but I think that his addition is the big value add you saw in Game 1.
So the other thing we were talking about yesterday, the other game I was thinking of was, I think Mazz mentioned, Game 7 against Miami the year before, Jim, where Marcus Smart almost shot him out of it.
Oh, right.
And Jimmy Butler missed the 3.
Yeah.
At the buzzer, you pulled out that close game, And still, when it mattered most against the Warriors, you didn't have it. And last year, you pulled out Game 6 in Miami, won a real knuckle-dragging, bare bones fight at the buzzer, and it didn't mean anything when you went to Game 7. So why is this, we don't know. I would say we don't know that they crossed the threshold. And to me, the thing I was saying yesterday is that I'd feel the way you felt if they played well in the fourth quarter. They didn't play well in the fourth quarter.
No, they didn't.
They were quite literally handed the thing. And I think the thing that you're saying with Tatum, and I mentioned this a lot yesterday, is just being overrated. He was 2 of 7 in the fourth quarter from the floor. He didn't score a point in the final 9:44 of the fourth quarter. It wasn't much better to begin overtime. And he had that hellacious turnover, at the top of the key that led to the Halliburton break and the 3 free throws that gave the Pacers the lead. And now the Celtics are back down by 2 points. And what happened next is the next possession, Tatum missed again at the rim, but the Celtics got the offensive rebound, and then Tatum's defender fell down. And he got the ball underneath the basket against TJ McConnell and got an and one. And then the next possession, he finally hit a 3. So it's like, he didn't really put the team on his back. At the end of the game, his defender fell down, and then he hit a 3. And that was kind of it. If he did the Philly thing, or the thing he did in Milwaukee a couple years before, I'd give him more deference. I think Indy gave him the game, and Tatum's defender fell down. That's sort of how I look at that.
People were coming out of it talking about Tatum was like the stud of the night, and I think that's nuts. I just think you have green colored glasses on. I thought Brown hitting that 3, to me, immediately better night than Tatum. Tatum had a wonky night. I just look again. Certainly no green teamer here. I again question their heart whether or not they could close a game like that in a situation like that. Yeah, they had done it before, but this year, I don't know. It has been kind of a more business-like operation for them. It does feel like there is a different feel to it. Again, the addition of Drew Holiday, adding some championship pedigree there. I'd like to believe that they closed that the way that they did the other night when it was gifted to them. Again, the Pacers did puke on themselves, but that they took advantage. The door was open. They went through it. I'd like to think it is a little different.
Okay. So, the only one, I'm not saying this to besmirch you at all, James, but just going over this, the only people who feel the way Jim Murray does, or say Dondero did yesterday, or some of the green teamers around here, the only people who feel that way are in Boston. I mean, you've listened to the national commentary, right?
Yeah, they get no credit nationally.
You've heard what's being said about them nationally.
Yeah.
It's like everyone looks at them and goes, that offense blows. Indy gave them the game more than they won the game. Tatum still doesn't look right. I mean, that's pretty much not just a consensus, but it's like, I feel like that's almost unanimous that's what people are saying around the country, right? I mean, I'm not making that up. That's what people are saying. So I guess, here's my follow-up question to that. Is everybody else wrong and you're right? Or do they have a vendetta against Boston? They just hate Boston? Or they hate the Celtics? Or what? It's one of those things, right?
Yeah, look, if you're asking me, I think they see it from an unbiased lens, which means that you get to the end of these games and they see who steps up and who doesn't. And it was painfully obvious in that game, particularly in regulation. Overtime, again, there were a couple of plays there. But in regulation, there were possessions there where Jason Tatum felt like didn't even touch the ball. To me, so the numbers are one thing, but the impact plays are something different.
Yeah, I mean, anyone nationally that wants to say, and I feel like some of what I've heard is that it's Brown hitting that shot the night that Drew Holiday had. Those two guys saved Tatum's ass, because had they lost that game, and they did it anyway, but they'd really be piling on Tatum, and that's probably a big sigh of relief for Tatum that they were able to win that game. That part I'm not going to push back on, because, again, it was a wonky night for Tatum.
I'm just saying, I think when you look outside Boston, the national guys all look at this and say the thing I just said, that the Celtics were not just lucky, that they absolutely stole one. It was more of an Indy loss than a Celtics win. They didn't really see much value in the Celtics pulling it out because it was just Indy. They couldn't inbound the ball. They look at the Celtics offense and they find it abhorrent. And generally speaking, the tone nationally when these guys watch you and girls watch you, women watch you, is they have more questions than answers and more sort of things to pick at than to feel confident about. I mean, I'm not making it up, but we'll play you all the sound today. I'm not cherry picking. I couldn't find much positive. out there. I mean, I didn't listen to Simmons and Russillo, and I'm not besmirching them, but you know what I mean. Like, they're Boston guys. The non-Boston guys, I feel like the only people who are saying that they actually pulled it out, it was more the Celtics than the Pacers, that it constituted clutch play and all of that, is Boston. So tell me why everyone nationally is saying something else. Do they hate you because you're Boston? They hate you because they ain't you? That thing? What? They're just all wrong? I mean, it's possible.
No, I think what
you could be right and they could be wrong. I'm not, but that's what that would take. Everybody else is wrong and you're right. Or they hate Boston, or what? I don't know. Give me another reason why everybody nationally is saying one thing and you're saying the other.
Well, I think a lot of people, here, just Celtics fans, and even myself, again, I'm no green teamer, but, even though I've been with you guys close to 10 years, my sports heart isn't 2 sizes too small. Like, that was a real wow, holy crap moment that they pulled that off to go to overtime and win that game. They stole it. So, like, you're riding the high of that. I definitely am. Like, I sat there afterwards, like, holy crap, like, they actually just won that game. And so, you get caught up in the emotion of it. Again, that's not a road you typically don't go down, Mike, the emotional part of sports as a sports fan. But to me, that's what it is. So maybe I'm still riding the high of that a couple of days later, saying, like, yeah, no, point Celtics. They showed me something I didn't think they could do.
So what you're saying is Boston is wrong and everyone else is right.
Probably. Yeah. Now that I'm back here in this seat and think about it, yeah, no, look, Tatum has not been great even during, these gentlemen sweeps that they had in the 2 prior rounds. Like, I can understand why people have been criticizing him. I've been doing it.
Mike, maybe you're asking the question in the reverse. And I'm just, in other words, maybe we should be asking, why do Bostonians feel this way when the rest of the country sees it a different way?
Because I think I know the answer.
Okay, that they're fans?
Yeah.
Okay, how about that they know it's an issue? And they're looking for anything to grab onto to make them feel better, because deep down they know it's an issue. So, like, to me, that's what it is you want to latch onto it because you realize that the problem is still there and you want to delude yourself into thinking that it's not. That would be my answer. If you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger and Mazz here. For more Celtics analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.